Hello, everybody. I now have 13 minutes to tell you about what we've been working for over a year now regarding the next generation architecture principles for eStonia. And I'm going to go right into it. Let's imagine this very natural situation. Let's imagine that you are with your partner in Helsinki and your partner is expecting a child. And you have enough time, it's no worry, you can walk around and do the touristy stuff, but suddenly something goes wrong. And for some reason the baby is coming sooner than expected. So what are you going to do? You're in a different country, you don't know where the hospitals are, you don't know whom you should call, you have no friend to rely on. So what can you actually do? What we imagine that you should be able to do is you would pick up your phone and your phone asks, what can I help you with? And then you're going to say, my partner is about to have a kid and I need help. Please help me. Your phone says, everything is going to be all right. Please give me a minute. 30 seconds passes and your phone says, now I have some instructions for you. Please go to this address. It's 50 meters from here. I'm showing it to you on the map. A car with the number BYC123 is going to pick you up and take you to the hospital. Your hospital has already been pre-notified and everything is going to be fine. So the car goes and picks you up and you're going to sit in the car. At some point, a phone will pop up with another notification and it will tell you that, hey, the government of Finland wants authorization to share your data with the government from Estonia. So you're going to approve this, so your medical data is going to be transferred over to Finland so that their hospital can start working and preparing right away. Then you're going to be able to easily pay with your phone for the ride, and you're going to be arriving at the hospital. Everything in the admission goes very well in the hospital because they already have your data, and they already know that you are coming, so everybody is prepared for this. And a mere few hours later, which for you might feel like a lifetime, you're going to be a parent. And you're going to have to now take care about things that are far more important than some digital stuff for being in another country. Last but not least, your phone will congratulate you. Congratulations, you're now a parent. You will have much more difficult problems ahead of you than you imagined so far, but we're going to help you. If you haven't figured out the name for your child yet, here are a few good recommendations that are unique enough that once your kid goes to school, it's unlikely that the name will match with one of their classmates. This is something that sort of feels human, sort of feels natural. And if we look at the amount of stuff that can be done with digitalized services or technology, in many ways, this is the way how this service should be provided to you in a most natural and convenient way for you. You don't need to learn new things. Everything happens as expected. But technology today is not there yet. So how can we actually get there? If we look at the three abstract layers of how government architecture is built, it's built upon three different things that are supporting the citizen or the user. For one thing, there's the communication layer. Secondly, there are the government services. And last but not least, in the bottom layer, there's technology architecture, the stuff that usually citizens and users do not see. So let's pick them apart. For one thing, government services today, the way we are today, are very siloed. There are multiple government silos in administration sectors that are offering these services for the citizens. But they are often dominated from the silo side, which means government office is offering very specific forms for you to fill that are a convenience for them, but an inconvenience for the citizen. Because for citizen, sometimes, especially in the case of having a child, you need to fill multiple forms with multiple government offices. Secondly, what we have is our single digital gateway, our government web portal called eesti.ee, which we use to provide a lot of these services or access and information to those services. And last but not least, in the very bottom layer, there are monolithic architectures, monolithic information systems that are providing a lot of those services. And secondly, everybody already knows X-Road, which we use for data interoperability of those services. Now, we need to address all of those three layers in order to make that original story which I told possible. For one thing, we need to sort of reinvent a way how we're offering government services. We need to start focusing on life events and proactive services so that when a citizen has a problem, their problem is solved in a single seamless line. And this is a goal which is not possible today, but should be possible in the future. And we are working on this. In terms of proactive services, public services are going to be made to be user-friendly, proactive, seamless, and automatic live event services, which got government approval late 2018. What does it actually mean, and how we can actually get there in terms of technology architecture? For a few things: Conway's law and domain-driven design. Conway's law tells you that bad process is not improved by good technology. It doesn't matter how great your technology really is. If your processes are not well designed, if your processes don't take citizen-first approach into its mindset, then the process is not going to be made better no matter how great technology you're actually using. And domain-driven design helps you to actually get to this point how to design those better services. And this kind of mindset needs to start happening in government and how we design services, but not only in public sector, also in private sector. Secondly, we need to start trialing out business process modeling principles and tools. Now, from an architecture standpoint, there are multiple angles. Some say that business process modeling is not the ideal way to design information systems, but when I'm looking at the government, if I'm looking at the different administration sectors that we have and the need to make them interoperate better, then business process modeling tools are one of the key ways how we can actually get there. Then we also need an interoperability catalog, which would make it more transparent what kind of data government has, what kind of technical components we have, in order to make this kind of shared services and proactive services actually happen. So we are looking into improving RIHA, how we can, which is the current interoperability catalog, how we can actually make it more transparent and more actual and up-to-date in order to get there. The second layer that we need to address here is the communication layer. And something that we are dealing with there is the concept of digital assistants, virtual assistants, and what we essentially call bureaucrat. So bureaucrat comes from our Estonian AI strategy that was published last year. And the idea there is one of the key things to research is supporting the use and implementation of AI components and enabling interoperability for the creation of a digital assistant. Now, the idea with our AI strategy is that we want to explore the opportunities. But one of the key things about bureaucrat is that we want to make sure that we create an ecosystem of loosely coupled virtual assistants. This means that bureaucrat or this government AI or government chatbot or virtual assistant is not going to be a single key piece of software. It's going to be an ecosystem, which means you can have multiple virtual assistants that are able to cooperate between one another in order to offer you, as citizen, a seamless service. Now, there's also an important part in terms of our understanding of domestic language. From Estonian standpoint, our phones don't speak Estonian. They don't understand Estonian in the way we would actually want. We're a small country, but with the approach of bureaucrat, we want to make sure that understanding the domestic language of Estonian is one of the key features of bureaucrat. So we need to explore the opportunities how to do this. Either Siri or Google Assistant is going to start speaking Estonian, or we have to end up working out a government app of our own that we can then integrate and offer these services through. Last but not least, bureaucrat is also a possible solution for true GDPR and my data. As you remember the original story, your government one government was asking a permission of another government to share data, medical data, in order to provide better services to you. And bureaucrat is one of the ways to do this, because it's closer to you and you understand it a little bit better. If you tell it no, it will not share any kind of data. Now, if we go into the very bottommost layer regarding the technology architecture, we are trying to address both the monolithic architecture and infosystems that we have today, as well as the X-Road, the way it is today, as well as the way we are seeing it proceeding in the future. So in order to get there, we want to get autonomous event microservice-driven architecture. And this also consists of multiple key things that needs to happen. For one, we need the evolution of X-Road to happen. X-Road is currently being developed in cooperation with Finland and the partner company of Nice. And they're doing a really great job. And they're actually right now exploring what additional features are required for X-Road. So if you have any kind of input or requirements that you see could be part of X-Road in the future, please let us know. And we can make sure that your key requirements or hopes are taken into account. Also, Xroad today already supports REST, but a lot of the integration is not today done with REST yet. It's going to be strengthened in the long term, like the further improvements and further integrations that government is going to do is going to be done over REST. Secondly, wider adoption of autonomous microservices and their reuse. It's really important to make sure that the microservices or the services themselves are not monolithic. They're more small, more domain-driven, more autonomous, so that you can reuse them. If something is being done well, why build it over and over again? So we are making sure that our interoperability principles and architecture principles in Estonia are focused on making sure that these components are more reusable than they have ever been before. Then everything is going to be certainly to be cloud native. I think cloud has already arrived, cloud is already here, and government should explore as many opportunities as possible to go to cloud. So this means that all of those principal key layers have to take cloud nativity into account. And last but not least is the event-driven loosely coupled services and the X-room concept. I'm going to be exploring this a little more with my next few slides so that we can get all on the same page. For one thing, today, infra systems that we have are integrated from end to end between one channel. So if system A requires help from system B, it makes a direct request over Xroad. So if system B suddenly happens to be down, then system A is unable to work. It's also going to be really difficult if, for example, system A requires help of multiple services, which would mean multiple integrations, separate integrations with multiple different systems in order to provide a single service. So the concept of X-room isn't entirely new. We're looking at Netflix, we're looking at Amazon, we're looking at Google, how they're building some of their event-driven microservice architecture, and we are seeing that they're doing message queues, they're doing event-driven architecture, which is something that hasn't been native yet in Estonian government architecture. So we are exploring this for something like this. For example, now you have two information systems that are communicating with each other over a room, such as a room right here. I'm not directly communicating with each and every one of you, but every one of you is a listener that listens to messages that I'm saying. And this is the way how event-driven architecture should work in government as well. You can have a single service or a single request of a service, but you can actually have multiple participants in enriching the data, in offering parts of the service. So if a citizen says that they are about to have a kid and they need to get into the hospital, then hospitals can listen in. You can have your ride-sharing apps that are listening in that can offer you to help you solve this issue. So this is what we are actually labeling at the moment as X-room. We are calling it sort of a new concept, but it isn't. But it is new in a way that it has not been tried at the scale of a whole government and across the whole administration sector before in the world. So we hope to learn from this. So last but not least, a few more things. Don't forget the story. The story I told you in the very beginning. We want to make this happen. Every decision and every hypothesis that we are testing is against this kind of story and other stories similar to it. Secondly, some concepts are already being implemented. They are not theory. We are already practicing them out. We are already running proof of concepts. We're going to see what works and we are going to see what doesn't. Then also, next generation will not happen as a big bang. It will happen gradually. At some point, you're going to look back a few years from now and realize that the story, the original story, already is the way you live and the way you get government services. And last but not least, everything that I talked about has been published in a paper that I published in March called The Next Generation Digital Government Architecture. It's available as a Google Doc and it's been shared widely. So if you're interested in reading more about some of these concepts, I would direct you to that document. Thank you.